Oh, let me record.
Okay, you're recording.
Thanks.
Hi, everybody. I am ENVP Sally Riches, and welcome to E-Nation Call. Now, for those of you on Barbounis Nation that don't know what E-Nation is, it stands for Executive. Burke Nation is executive to Riches Nation, and Riches Nation is executive to Barbounis Nation. So isn't it lovely that we've got this little genealogy thing happening tonight? And what better host to co-host with me than Jay Burke. Introducing Jay Burke, everyone. Give him a round of applause.
Can we unmute everyone to hear that applause again?
I'll just do a can.
What a pleasure! What a pleasure to host with myself. Well.
Now, let me just see, because you're the pinned person, but it should be. Can you give me a wave, Andrea? I can see you, Andrea James. Can you give me a wave if when I talk, does my head pop up? Cool, okay, because all I can see is Jay Burke's head. A nice shiny head too.
You can change it at the top right-hand corner. You can change it from speaker view to
yes.
Gallery view.
Gallery view. I'm going to just switch to gallery view. There's some lovely consultants on there tonight. Hi, everyone. Look, we've got Rachel Ross all the way from Vietnam. Yeah. Tuning in on her holiday. Hi, Amy. We've got Newcastle people. Who else have we got? It's so good to see everybody. Can you please start using that chat feed, guys? We want this to be interactive tonight, and I would like to see where everybody is from. So start putting in. I'm expecting that to light up right now. Auckland, Michelle, how are you?
Iala West, Wagga Wagga, Mission Beach, Werribee, Torquay, Melbourne, Hillside, Belmont, Sunbury, Blackburn, Aberfeldy, Atwood, Melbourne.
Kim's with Melissa in Melbourne. What are you doing in Melbourne tonight, Melissa Ruff? You're talking
out. I think they're flying out. Are you flying out, Ruffy? Yes. So I think Kim Miller and Ruffy are off to Vegas. Airport West, LA bound, Geelong. This is great. This is like a Facebook Live.
How exciting. So exciting to see everybody. Anyway, thank you so much for jumping on. Even those people that are flying out tonight, thanks for jumping on. There's a lot of excitement in the air, and you will see so many posts. Your Facebook's about to blow up with GTC, and if you're new to Arbonne and haven't experienced that before, you may get a serious case of FOMO. I'm actually not going this year. I didn't go last year either. I've made the decision to stay at home with my little man. I just cannot leave him for that extended time yet. But by next year, I will be dying to leave him, I think, especially after today. He's driving me nuts. Anyway, so we decided that we would bring this E-Nation training to you tonight. And, you know, Jay Burke style, my style, last minute, fly by the seat of our pants. And I did call Jay yesterday and say to him, what would you like to talk about? And look, you know.
And to be honest, and I said, where? When? What are you talking about?
You did. And then he came out with a whole heap of random things that, you know, were quite funny as to what he'd like to talk about, but were not related to Arbonne. So anyway, so what we decided to do was let's do a Q&A. And we have had a very, very underwhelming response, I must say, from our Nation page posts. I think Jay, look, he didn't do it in the Barbounis Nation actually, because I don't think Jay's actually privy to being on that page. Sorry, Jay. But in the Burke Nation and the Riches Nation, we did say we want your questions and we'll go from there. But that's fine, because we will have sorry, I've just completely thrown because people are saying to me.
Here's the idea. The idea is
it's going to be kind of like a Where's Wally thing, like a little competition tonight. But people are onto me already.
So what we're going to do, Sal, if I'm correct, is I want everyone just to throw some questions. It's going to be short and sharp. We'll try and answer as many questions as we possibly can. So if you've got us, and there's 60 people on, I reckon we can scratch 75 people on. I'm sure we can scratch out a couple of questions. And, you know, I prefer to fly by the seat of my pants a little bit with this business and with most things. So I didn't want to be too structured. Let's
Let me start you off, Jay, because there's none there yet on any topic.
Any topic at all. So left field, I'll try and keep it brief. We have got Kirsten McFadden was good enough to throw a couple of questions out at us, so we might start there.
Okay, let me read you some of Kirsten's questions, Jay.
Okay.
Jay, what is the most difficult objection you've had to handle to date?
Okay, well, I read this question at lunchtime and I gave it no thought at all until now. That's not true. To be honest, and this might sound strange, but I'd actually prefer that people object. So I think if people tend to have, get nervous about someone objecting. I think if someone's objecting to the business or what you've presented to them, it's a fantastic opportunity for a response. Because I think everyone would agree the hardest person to respond to is the person that gives you nothing. Like the person gives you donuts, doesn't say anything, doesn't respond. So when you've actually got an objection, I think in my mind, it's a good thing. If you've ever heard me present, and Kari hates it when I do this, but I always like opening up for questions at the end of a presentation. And again, don't do that if you don't feel comfortable doing that. But I really like actually asking questions because there's generally going to be a smart ass in the room that's got a curly question that maybe everyone has heard or is insinuated. I like to answer that in a public forum. I actually like to have that curly question because I don't believe that there's any question that we can't respond to. There's nothing that you should be concerned about. Even if you don't know the answer, there's nothing that you can't seek the answer for in this business. There's no hidden agenda. There's no there's no mysticism to it that you need to be privy to. It's the facts are the facts. It's a great business. Whether it's the remuneration model, that tends to be one that gets people a little bit sticky when you first start, is the remuneration model. But honesty is the best policy. If you don't know the answer, the best thing you can do is just say, I don't know, but I'll find out for you. Trying to invent an answer that's totally wrong is not the right thing to do. So I would much prefer that people object, and any objection is a good objection because it gives you an opportunity to respond. Just be ready for that response, I think would be my key tip. And when you look at, and hopefully everyone on the call has taken the opportunity to look at the new consultant training guide and look at the questions that we ask a new consultant. Because again, the consultant that asks no questions is the one that I worry about. The person, in our rush to actually get people signed up to this business, sometimes you can be in such a hurry just to get it posted on Facebook that you've got a new consultant, that you miss the point of actually setting that consultant up correctly. So setting them up correctly means actually, possibly unearthing some objections. And most of those will be common objections. The best response I've found to objections, and sometimes this, you might need to twist, not the truth, but you might need to, if someone has an objection, the easiest way to respond to an objection I've felt is to say, it's funny you say that because that's exactly how I felt. Now, you might not have felt exactly that way, but it validates someone's concern or their objection. If you totally knock someone's objection for 6 and tell them that they're an idiot, it's not really the most becoming. So if you have someone that raises an objection for you, I had a male that I was prospecting the other day, and he was talking about, he's an accountant, and he was talking about his limits of time, and he's got a family, and he's actually an accountant and a stay-at-home dad. And he said, I'm really not inclined at all to be selling product to people. And I said to him, it's interesting you say that because that's exactly how I felt. And he went, oh, really? And then I was able to expand a little bit more about the business and, expand on how I viewed I really saw the business opportunity ahead of the product sales part of it, at least initially. So objections are good. Don't freak out about objections, even if you don't have the answer. Be honest, and make sure that you validate someone's concern, even if it is a really silly concern. That say, I get you, I'm hearing you, I totally get it, even if it's not you. But yeah, other people have felt exactly that same way before. And I'm not sure whose philosophy that is. One of the network marketing professionals talks about that that method of responding to people. Yeah, that's how I felt. But when I know how you feel, but when I learned a little bit more, I realized that X, Y, Z. I think it's a really good way of response. That wasn't very short, Sally.
I'm just going to say, you said that you were going to get straight to the point with answers.
Yeah, okay, sorry. Yep.
We love the elaboration, so thank you.
Okay, cool.
And really good to hear your point of view as well. And I think what you're talking about is a strategy called Feel, Felt, Found.
There you go,
so
that's it.
I know exactly how you feel. I felt the same way, but what I found was we weren't actually selling product. We're becoming consumers of the product in our own home, teaching others how to do that and getting cashed up when we do it correctly.
Yep.
So that's very good. And I think also going back to objections, it's about keeping that presentation that short and sweet. I mean, we so often watch those VPs do those big DAs, and they've got so much information in them. You know all of that information. When I first started, we didn't have all of that information. So what you need to do is strip that presentation right back, and when it comes to handling objections, use that information that you know to educate people. So for example, you don't have to blurt all of the information out in your presentation. People will sit there, the lights will go off inside their head, and they'll become disengaged. So keep it short and sweet when you are presenting. So then you've got that information to help handle those objections. And it was really interesting because Richard Blissbrook, and Jay, you're spot on with, you didn't even go to Richard Blissbrook. Kari must have been in your ear. Just be honest is what he said. But also, the other thing I was going to say about Richard Blissbrook, just completely gone. I'll get back to it. Richard Blissbrook, I can't remember what he was going to say. I'm sidetracked because I'm trying to read the questions at the same time. Let's get back to the questions, Jay, and I'll remember that in a minute. I just went blank. Okay, any tips? Hang on. If someone recommends a prospect when approaching that prospect, do you mention that the referring person said they could be a good fit? Yeah. My first consultant was a referral, and I found it so easy because I rang this girl and said, "Hi, such and such. I've been speaking to such and such," which is a mutual friend, about a new business an exciting new business venture I've started. And she mentioned that you need to listen to this. She thought it would be such a great fit for you. Would you like to catch up for a coffee? May be for you, may not be, but I'd love to share it with you, as such and such thinks that you would totally rock at this. So yeah, I found referrals easy. What's the next one? Jay, what do you think? Do you have an opposing view to that?
No, again, it's just the easiest thing to do is be honest, because you don't have to, it's easy to remember. Like, don't try and invent something that's not the truth. I mean, the business is a bit of a microcosm of just life in general. So I think we all operate better when we're just speaking the truth and just talking facts. And I think facts went out. So yeah, I totally agree. I know
what I was going to say about the Richard Blissbrook thing before I went blank. So Richard Blissbrook, when we went and saw him, he spoke about how social marketing or network marketing, whatever you want to call it, the perception that comes with that has been created by people who are not educated, or people who have had a negative view or a negative experience with the industry. So that's where the perception comes from. So for us, when we're handling objections, it comes down to us to educate people. So that's where the personal development comes into it, and the professional development comes into it. Anyway, all right. Now, next one, Jay, I'm going to ask you, any tips on how to maximise on group presentations to a consultant that has been out of the game for over a year? Now, Courtney, when you say group presentations, are you talking DAs or product presentations? Product event. Okay. Jay, do you want to answer that one?
Was it around DAs or product presentations?
Product.
Okay, well, you're probably speaking to the wrong bloke, because I very, very rarely would have a product-only event. But I think I am a big believer in the group presentation, largely for leverage of time. Now, again, you're going to probably have to talk to the people that are pushing out more of the product events than me. But when I first started, and Sally, you can probably vouch for this, when we first started in the business, there was a real emphasis of bringing together, and that's why the DAs, at least initially, were so successful, because there was a real emphasis on bringing people to that group event, people validating in a group sense. Anything in a group sense where you can actually see other people, like the lights going off for other people, is a win. So I think the more you can have, and one of the other questions on the chat feed was about doing virtual events. I'm a big believer in group events, group DAs, whether it be in person or virtual ones. And it doesn't need to be an army, like it can be 3, 4, 5 people, but just think about the use of your time, and also think about how that actually translates to people that are thinking about the business. Like if someone's thinking that they have to be having an hour one-on-one with a person and then have to do that another, 8 times during the course of the week, they're doing the mental math, and they're thinking, hang on, I'm not going to have time for this business. This isn't going to work. But you have to leverage the time. You have to leverage your time, and you have to leverage the use of technology as best you possibly can. So wherever possible, having a group of people together, I think, is a really good idea, at least for presenting initially the business. There are always going to be circumstances where one-on-one is the only option. But yeah, group presentations, definitely. Do you want to add anything from a product point of view, Sal?
Look, when I read something like that, I'm a real stickler for our system. And the way I built my business was by finding business partners straight up. So Courtney's written to a consultant that has been out of the game for over a year. So if you've been out of the game for over a year, what I would be doing is going back to basics. And I would be getting that new consultant guide out, looking at the verbiage on how to invite people, and first of all, talking to your mentor, because what's going to get you back in the business is by exposing people to the the presentation. But as Jay says, do you want to dabble with product, or do you want to try to maximise and find business partners straight away? I would be finding business partners, and it's what we call that funnel. So the first thing you're looking for is a business builder. If they're a no to that, the next part of the funnel is get them to become a product user. If they're no to a product user, find a referral or get them to host something. So you're sort of doing it backwards. Hosting as far as a product event would be the last thing I was looking for in that set of 3. Mind you, that's just the way I run my business. Yep. So the best thing you can do, Courtney, is just get on the phone and ring and book people. That's it. It's the activity.
Sally, that's the way you run the business, and that's why you're a national vice president. Like, if you want, again, people on this call are wanting to know, what do I need to do to have the success that Kari and Danny and Rachel and all of those have had? I can tell you what they've done. And again, they've focused on, they look at the network marketing aspect of this business as the primary piece that they're building. They're trying to find other people that genuinely want to enjoy the products, embrace the business, and share that with other people. I did a live with Kari the other day on her Facebook. I think it might have only been for Burke Nation, but I sort of hijacked it at the end. But one of the things that I said was that the product sales are a fantastic and a natural byproduct of you talking to people about the business. If the business, lead with the business, and the product is a natural byproduct of that, pardon the pun. But I'm going to digress a little bit, but I did at one of our nation trainings a while ago, I can't do it here while we're on the Zoom, but I did an exercise where I just asked everyone to go back to day one and really I asked everyone whether they'd followed the new consultant training guide from start to finish for the first 30 days. And it was amazing how many people that had been in the business for some time that just had not, they've just decided to skip the first 30 days or the actions required, like asking a consultant what their goals were, what their plan for 6, 12 months, 2 years. If you're struggling at all in this business, and it goes to the question we had before, if you're struggling at all in this business, a reboot is always a great thing. Going back to the beginning and saying, okay, what did I miss? What did I potentially miss out on in the first 30 days that now is showing up later in my business? Where's the hole? So don't be afraid to pull that new consultant training guide out again and refresh, try and find those areas that you maybe you've skipped over, because we've all done it and we all have deficiencies in our business. Don't be afraid to go back to the start. Next question, Sal.
So let me just add to that. So there are people who are on the call tonight who are wanting to run their business and with the product being sort of the first and foremost part of it. So they want to host product events and they like running their business like that. So there's really interesting point Zoe Guest has made, or it's a question. What if Courtney has gone down the funnel and has someone agreed to a product event? Should she stick to a range? All right, so that's if you are. So yeah, so look, I mean, you might meet someone and they say straight up, no, but I'll host an event for you. Well, what I want you to think about when you are hosting that event is not a focus on selling product. The focus, number one, is trying to find a business partner out of it. Number two, find some product sales. And number three, referrals. You need to get either one of those three from a product event. And look, you know, there's so many different ways to run a product event. You could just do a few of my favorite things and always do a small snapshot of the business presentation. There are product slides on there that you can talk about, and then go into you know, a few of your favorite things. I still lead with RE9 or the nutrition, but there are those favorites like the primer, the mascara. But if you're just doing a makeup event, think about the turnover that you want. People will buy mascara and they might not need a mascara for another 2 years. Some people, you know, mascara goes out of date in 3 months, 3 to 6 months, I think it is. But you want product turnover. So any PCs that you bring into the business, you want them on a nutrition or a skincare line, because that's what they're going to churn through, and that's what will get those reorders. So that was just an extra little bit to add to that. There's a lot of questions going through now, so I'm just going to scroll back up. Jay, can you see any there that you'd like to answer?
Well, I'm going to add to that quickly, but I'm making a really big assumption here that everyone on the call is pretty keen to be like Sally, a national vice president, or like Rachel, a national vice president. And so when I talk about the way I think the business should be run primarily, I'm talking from experience of seeing how these ladies have built their businesses to national vice president. So everyone's quite entitled to do whatever they want to do in their business. But again, I'm making a very big assumption that people want to be a national vice president in this business. Build with business builders. My strong recommendation. All right, let's...
Kira said, in terms of product, if there's a product that you've got that is past its shelf life and there's still a fair amount left, is it a good idea to continue to share that or just invest in new product? Don't continue to share it if it's past its shelf life. I mean, if you've got gold bags and you've got RE9 going out to potential business partners, once it gets to a certain point, that's when you start using the RE9. That's how you turn it over. You don't buy yourself a new set. You wait till, you take from your gold bag to go through it. You don't, definitely don't hand out product that's past its use by date. Nope. That's a no-no.
Big no-no. Kim Miller asks, what's your top tip for cold press prospecting on social media? Well, this is probably a good question for Kari, because she's the social media queen and has put a fair bit of energy and effort into sort of litmus testing social media as a place to actually source prospects or consultants. I think the key with social media is interaction. Anyone that jumps on social media and thinks that just having an Instagram page is going to automatically lead to people buying products through them is kidding themselves. I mean, it is about building, I suppose, brand recognition, but the brand is not necessarily about building the Arbonne brand. Like with social media, it's definitely about building the brand of you. And the brand of you is who you are and what you do and what you're interested in and what floats your boat. Look at mine. There's a fair bit of health and fitness and CrossFit and other things that interest me, my kids, and it's just me. Like, so from a cold prospecting point of view, if you are legitimately looking for opportunities to find people you haven't met before, you've got to interact. That's without a doubt, 100%. You've got to interact with other people on social media. The only downside to that, I'd say, is that it can be a rabbit hole that you can dive down and not come out of for a while. Like it can be I think Kari would be the first to admit that social media has not been the gold mine of new consultants that people might think that it is. I think it's an important part of your overall picture of what you do in your business, but the number one best thing to be doing is physically talking to people, real humans in front of you. That's for sure. The social media definitely, I think, is a big part, but one-on-one with people for sure. Next question, Sal.
JB, there's one. They want to know what your favourite one-liner is. Not in the pub either. We don't want to hear your one-liners from the pub back in those days. I will tell you, Jay Burke was a bit of a playboy back in his.
Yeah, they call me. Days. Yeah, no, I'm not going to say what they call me. We're not going to do your joke, Sally. One-liners. Honestly, I can't even. I mean, I'm a quite a reactive person in conversation. I think if you're trying to come up with a catchy one-liner, I think you're in trouble. You've got to listen first. I did a presentation for Arbonne at AAC, I think it was, which I cover off. If anyone hasn't seen it, I'll repost it in the feed. But I talk about the importance of listening first and being genuinely interested in what people have to say. Because I think if you're thinking, shit, I've got that really good bag of tricks, one-liners that I'm just waiting for a chance to blurt that out, you're totally disengaged with that person. Like you're totally disengaged with what they're actually saying. People are giving you cues all the time about what they want and who they are, and you should be, in listening, thinking about all the areas that might marry up with the business, rather than thinking I've got a tricky one-liner that I'm going to pop out when I get a chance to. So the presentation I did was called the Long Game. So yeah, I think it's on SoundCloud as well. SoundCloud, YouTube, and somewhere else. Just Google it, you'll find it. So the Long Game.
Do you know what I love, JB? I love that some of the questions that we've been asked tonight or asked ourselves, people have been answering in the chat feed. So Lisa McKenzie, Andrea James, everybody else, Tanya, thank you for answering, because there's some really good information in the chat feed if you want to jump on and have a look at that as well.
Sally, you asked me a question before we jumped on about PD. Do you want to?
Yeah. So Jay Burke, I have to say, churns through the PD. chance to it. You absolutely do. And I think you do have a bit of travel time up your sleeve when you go to Shepparton and stuff. So audiobooks are always great. But you do read a lot of books as well, Jay. So tell us about your PD.
Okay. Well, I think the question you actually asked me, Sal, is what PD do I do specific to Arbonne? And I would say that I do very little specific to Arbonne. I am a big believer in reading widely and broadly on all topics, on lots and lots of different things, because you'll connect the dots. You'll connect the dots from different industries and different different topics all the time. You'll draw the parallel between all of them. So I'll tell you a couple of things that I've read recently, which I love. My mum's here at the moment. She's downstairs looking after the kids while Kari's apparently working overseas. I think she might have added an extra 4 days, and she told me she's going to GTC, and I didn't know that she was gone for an extra 4 days beforehand with Danny and Amanda, and they're all just messing around at Santa Monica Pier. Anyway, one book that I've read recently is a very easy read, and it's a bit might be a bit weird, but I think one of the other ENVPs in the US might have recommended the same guy as well. It's Jocko Willink. He's a retired Navy SEAL commander in the States, and he's written 2 books. The second one is like a coffee table book. It's called Discipline Equals Freedom Field Manual. And you might think, why would that be relevant to me? It's an awesome read. I just gave it to my mum, and she's already about halfway through it as of yesterday. Loves it because she's wanting a bit more encouragement for her exercise regime, going to the gym. It's brilliant. It's brilliant. Just little bite-sized nuggets, not really of inspiration because it's not his thing. It's more just telling people to get off their ass and get it done. Just making things happen. It's a really, really good read. It's fantastic. If someone's looking for something a little bit darker, and again, this might not be the starting point for everyone, but I've just started reading a book called The 12 Rules of Life, An Antidote to Chaos by Jordan B. Peterson. I recommend everyone, I haven't finished it yet, but I've been following this guy for a while. He's a clinical psychologist in in Canada, and it's quite dark, meaning it's dark and goes to some of the depths of, the human experience and the stuff that we all sort of are challenged with in life, hard stuff, where he talks about chaos being like, challenges with your health, death of family members, a difficult business opportunity. So you can sort of draw parallels to all of it. But I'm about 3 chapters in at the moment, and I'm gripped by it. I think it's really resonating with me, just in sort of the internal conversation that we all have about everything that we do. So that's another one. What else have I been reading lately? I'm just going to my Audible as we speak.
Do you find that that if you listen to it and you really like it, you go back to it, listen to it again? Do you write notes down?
Oh, yeah. So I use so this is my Audible. So I use Audible a fair bit. I do also like my books. So there's some of my favorite reads. I do like hard copy. I actually write in pencil in all of my books. I figure I'm going to keep it forever. So if I'm listening to the Audible, I also use Evernote. So Evernote, for those of you that don't know, is a great little note-taking app. It's got a green elephant, so it's that one there, Evernote. And I actually use that, here's a little tip, but I use that for business. So I use it for file note-taking for So if I've had a meeting with someone, whether it's a financial planning meeting or it's a consultant prospect, I'll add that person in as a note, and I'll just put some cues about who they are and the conversation we had and the things they liked and what we talked about and where it was, because I've got an okay memory, but it's always nice to be able to go back to the date and say, what did I talk about? So that's really important. But I also, for all of the books, so this is, I'm up to chapter 4. So these are my notes for every chapter for 12 Rules for Life. I do that. I just, I footnote things that I read, make reference to them. I think that's really important to do. Sorry, digressing, Sal. What else did you want to know about PD?
Interesting. Look, PD is just a must. You need PD. It is good for your mindset. And if a team member ever calls me and they sound a bit flat, first thing I will say is, what personal development are you doing at the moment? And chances are, usually 8 out of 10 that they're not doing any. PD is one thing when it comes to, you've got, your PD, your personal development and your professional development. I think personal development is probably the biggest thing. All you need to do to run this business is read Eric Worre and GoPro. That's all you really need.
Yeah.
And but you need to work on yourself. You need that personal development. And I know a lot of people who read, churn through books, but you need to apply it as well. So I know Ali Villani has got a rule where she reads 4 books a year, but she goes back to them. And I do that as well. I go back to re-listening, and it's that thing we were talking about, Jay, you yesterday. You can read a book, but it might, 12 months later, you hear something, a completely different message comes out of it. So, I do like to go back to books as well. So, but you do need to be doing the personal development, because in this business, people will be attracted to you. And that was one of the things that kind of slapped us in the face at Richard Blissbrook. People join you in this business. They might, you might be presenting that presentation and they're not even listening to what you're saying, which is one of the things I remember just sitting there looking at Kari and going, this is my inner dialogue when I went to a follow-up with Kari. I remember thinking, she is so positive. She is so passionate about this. I don't know what the hell it is, but I want to be around people like that. It was the feeling. So that was, one of the reasons why I joined. So you need to be your best consultant. You need to be the person who you would want on your team. That's the biggest thing. And when it comes to that PD as well, Jay, and I know you've got this down pat, something I need to work on more and more, physical activity, exercise. It's really, really good for the mind as well. And of course, you often say to me, JB, Sally, do you meditate? Because I often come across very scattered. And I'll say, no, JB, I don't. But meditation can be so many different things, So all of those things add up to personal development, don't they? And how amazing in this business that you start a business and you realise that how much you get from it. The community, the personal development is just absolutely so valuable. It's incredible.
Yeah. Well, like I said before, Sal, Arbonne is it's like a microcosm of your life. I mean, it amplifies all the aspects of your life that maybe might have some deficiencies, or maybe in the personal development space. So every single little bit of personal development you can do will add value not only to your business, but also to you personally. That's what they call it, personal development. But I think Sally's point, which is worth reinforcing, is that action trumps thinking all the time. Like if you're in doubt or you're in procrastination mode, the best thing to launch you out of that is not to go and read another book. It's to actually go and call someone, speak to someone, do something, take some action. Again, that's a common theme in a lot of personal development books, is that action trumps thinking all the time. If you're stuck, personal activity. If you're stuck, go and do something. If you're feeling shitty, go for a walk. If you've got to move, you've got to take action in every aspect of your life, and that again, reflect back down to this business, you've got to take some action. Yeah, Carolyn, activity cures everything. So
yes, activity feels sexy.
Yeah.
Where did Caroline say that? Hi, Kaz.
Yeah, hey, Kaz.
So come on, guys. Let's have maybe time for a couple more questions. But it's really good to see Matt not on tonight. Matt being another bloke on here. And look, I must say, I've got 4 pages of people, but there's only 1 page with faces. So everybody must be having a bath, Jay. But it's good to see your face, Matt, as a bloke. You've got a personal one-on-one with Jay Burke here right now. What would you? Can you find Matt, Jay?
Yeah, I've seen Matt. He's got his hat on.
Unmute him. We don't want to put you on the spot, but is there anything or any perspective you want to throw in?
Go on, Matt. You're unmuted now, mate.
Thanks, guys. Geez, a question for Jay. What's your favourite CrossFit outfit, since they've got so many of them?
Well, I've got the wildlife. I've just come from the gym, so the wildlife tends to be a good one. But I know that wasn't your question, Matt.
No, just stirring up a little bit, mate. Question for Jay. How do you find, obviously, when you speak to males or approach males about the business, what's the easiest way to maybe branch into their network in terms of females that they may have within their network? How do you find that? Because most guys will have a wife or a girlfriend or a mum or a daughter or something like that. How do you approach that, and how do you expand on that?
Yeah. Well, it's a good question, Matt, because most guys don't immediately make the connection between the product set and the network of females that exist around them that are consumers. I mean, the conversation I had with a guy the other day that I was prospecting, I said the accountant he's a stay-at-home dad / accountant. He is a very, very, very intelligent guy, very business-minded, but until I actually made the connection for him between the business and the consumer network of women around him that are already spending the money. Like I literally had to just point it out to him. And like when you and I presented a few weeks ago, Matt, I think you've got to spell that out. You've got to spell it out to guys, because most guys have a preconceived idea, like you had, Matt, like I did, like a lot of the husbands of wives that are on the call have this preconceived idea that this is a little hobby business for a stay-at-home mum, and that's as far as they think. But if I've noticed anything about the difference between male and female, and there's only one thing I've noticed about the difference. That was a joke, Sally. Laugh. One difference I'm aware of, and that is that guys have a tendency to gravitate towards the business if you show it to them, and the women, at least initially, have a tendency to focus on the product. And it's a great amalgamation of the two, but you have to connect the dots for them. So for the guys, you have to show them that it doesn't matter that this is a predominantly female-oriented business with products that are largely consumed by women. That's awesome. Like if you are genuinely thinking about this as a business, all you have to do is have a look around and go, okay, well, I'm married to a female. She's got all of my mates. Well, again, they may well have partners of the same sex, but majority speaking, they're going to have female partners. If they can see that all of those are consumers of these types of products, all of a sudden the business makes sense. And it's not about thinking, oh, I'm going to be selling lipstick. It's about saying, okay, I want to have a business that's got a marketplace demand. There is my marketplace demand. It is everywhere. So sometimes it's the stuff that's like staring at us in plain sight and we can't see it. You've just got to point it out to people, men included. And once men have that understanding of the business, they're much more on board. And I've said before, I think in a couple of my other presentations that I've done at AAC, that the best thing that a husband can do, or a supportive partner can do, even if he's not involved in the business as a consultant himself, and this is for everyone on the call that hasn't heard me say this, if your husband's within earshot, just turn it up so he can hear, or tell him to ring me or whatever, is have him say, when his friends ask him about what you do, make sure that he does not say, my wife does this little lipstick thing, this little Arbonne thing. Tell him to say, we, so he must say we have our own social marketing business. Him saying we, just that verbiage, him saying we, straight away engages the brain of his male counterparts, and all of a sudden they're not thinking about this in the perspective of being a little lipstick business for women. It's about them seeing this as something that a man would be involved in. And yeah, listen, it may appear like a fairly sexist way of thinking. It's probably not the right way of saying it, but it's just the fact that guys need validation from other guys. And if your husband or your partner wants to support you in this business, and he damn well should, he must say we, even if he's not a consultant himself, he's in the household, we have our own social marketing business. And when they ask him how it's going, he says it's going awesome. And then he says, oh, can you tell us a bit about it? Great, we'll organise a time to catch up for a beer or a coffee, whatever it may be. But that validation alone, I reckon that small amount of verbiage is a thing that will actually change your business and open up all new networks. If you've got the dynamic of, if you've got the male and female dynamic in this business, you are winning, because you do actually want the female perspective and the male perspective. And if you can get that, there's no couple or individual that you can't talk to. So yeah, anyway, that's I think that's an important part. Sorry, Sal, I went over time.
No, that's okay. I'm going to talk a little bit about GTC, but Matt, I hope that answers your questions. And I think when it comes to guys, I absolutely love prospecting guys. And I think it's because I assume, well, if there was ever a way, a female or a male version to do this business, I think I do the male version, where I just stick to the business opportunity. The products sell themselves. I don't have to sell the product sells itself. And if people, have a reaction to the product or whatever, I help them through that. But sometimes when people have reactions to the product, it's because they're trying to backpedal. Somebody's been in their ear about something. I'm not going to convince them. But I love prospecting guys for that reason. But I think when you go into prospecting guys, just don't assume. I had one guy who was this young, hip guy, really level head, really great business head on him. And it wasn't until probably our second follow-up, I said to him, what is it about this business that actually resonates with you? Now, I thought he'd just been married. It's about, they wanted to have children. I thought it was about creating this nest egg. He said to me, I love the pure, safe, beneficial products. I love that these products are better, healthier for me. And he said, I hardly use products, but he was so interested in the business side of it. But that's the biggest thing that he took out of it. It really surprised me, actually. And it was almost like a slap in my face, where I thought, I should have known this going into the first follow-up. I should have known that information and then built on that, and then talked to him about how using these pure, safe, beneficial, healthier products, he could influence other people and help them to use them as well. But I think one thing with guys, and I never really find it with women, and I shouldn't assume, but I do find that I don't like taking females to DAs, big DAs, for their first listen. However, with guys, I like to take guys to DAs for their first listen. And of course, I would have done a little bit of, I would have talked to them about the business to get them there. But I find myself, it's less of a mummy business or a lady's business if I take a guy to a big hip happening, you know, Fitzroy Cider House, where there's a lot of people there and people can look around and go, oh, these people are normal. Okay, that person, oh, there's a girl from my work. You know, it normalises the business. And like Jay says, it's that validation that guys look for. So when prospecting guys, that might help. Thank you to those people who've been helping others. Mariska, in the chat feed. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to quickly talk about GTC. There is virtual GTC. So we are so lucky this year to be able to take part where, you know, we're the ones that have been left behind, although there's still some people flying out. But if you're not physically going to be able to get to GTC, you can actually be there virtually. Now, again, in January, I wasn't able to get to Maui, but for the first time, Arbonne created the virtual Maui, which was absolutely amazing. And so from that, they've built, from the feedback they got from that, they've built on that. Now, I was speaking to Melissa Amaviska, who is from Aussie Corporate, and she was telling me about virtual GTC. She's actually a very big part of it. She's going to be like a roving reporter. And she was actually telling me there is so much more to it. So there's a lot of behind the scenes that you won't actually see if you are there live, you know, in the flesh at GTC. She said that when people come off the stage, they will interview them. There's so much more. If you've already registered, there's lots of stuff on there already. And speaking of that, if you register by tonight, there is a free gift, and it is the cellular renewal mask. And if you're a consultant, you get that for about $62, $68. I think it's about $69 you get it for. So to register for GTC, virtual GTC, it's $99. But if you're getting a product that's worth $68, it's really only costing you, you know, $30 to jump on and have a look. And even if you're not watching it live, the recordings get uploaded straight away. So I'm really looking forward to that. If regions have got 25 people registered within your region, you get a special training from Chief Product Developer, Michael Dominio, and he will talk through, he's going to offer a free training after GTC, going through all of the products. So that's something exciting. You know, if you think that within your region you've got nearly up to 25, encourage people to jump on, because you really want to get your hands on that, a live training like that. What's the other thing I was going to say, Jay? I think that's pretty much it. But jump on and Gabe, $99 US, is it? Is it 99 US? I thought I paid $99 Australian. Anyway, I'll find that out for you. $130. Thanks, Jules. $130. Well, it's still a bit of a bargain when you've got that product that's full retail over $100 anyway. So pretty exciting. And also, I will be setting my alarm, because so Burke Nation and Richards Nation, we have got some new RVPs, and we've got Marie Harrington, Renee McDuffie and Joe Davidson all walking as new RVPs. And if you want to watch that live, that will be on at about 2 a.m, from 2 a.m. Saturday morning. And yes, I'm going to jump on and watch it live. It's just too exciting not. I'll be watching the reruns, but I still have to get up and watch that live. That's very, very exciting. I think that's pretty much it tonight. G. Burke. Thanks for jumping on, everyone.
Thanks, guys. I've just posted a few. I think I can post the chat feed. I just put a couple of my favourite books in there. None of them are Arbonne related.
Can you save that and then send that to me, and I can post that in the comments of in the nations.
Do I put anything in my beard, Zoe? Yes, I do. Sorry, I'm just.
It's a serum. You use the serum, don't you?
I do use the serum. And I did use. There was an oil that came out, part of the Christmas range, which they discontinued, which I used a lot. The tea tree shampoo, and I know some of that's been discontinued as well.
Mm-hmm.
I'm happy about that. But definitely the shampoo and the conditioner. And I really did enjoy the tea tree. So I've been pushing for that to be revisited. But I am actually, I've asked a couple of times about a beard-specific, beard-branded, male-branded beard oil. We will, the nourishing facial oil as well, definitely. Yep, I've tried a bit of everything. I tend to have very straight and coarse beard.
I think that was probably a joke, Jay, but I just let you roll with it.
Yeah, no.
Thanks, Zoe. He's on a roll. I did take a male prospect once to a DA, and I was so nervous about taking him and answering his questions that when he said to me, "Do you have anything for beard rough?" I was like, I don't know, but good question. I can find out. And he looked at me like I was an idiot because he was actually having a joke with me. Oh, beard. Anyway, Arbonne probably has got a solution to that anyway. So, Jay Burke, what's in the pipeline for you?
What's in the pipeline for me? I'm going to muscle through the next week without my wife here. Got the week off, but I'll be very, very excited to jump on virtual GTC and see what happens over the course of the next week. If anyone does, maybe just on a closing note, if anyone does have questions, I know a lot of people will reach out. I want to make it known to everyone. If you've got questions, I mean, the best thing that I think Sally and Danny and Kari and those NVPs that have been around for a while, the best thing they did was that they didn't hold back in actually asking people questions. So don't sit and fret and think I couldn't possibly ask Jay or Sally a question or send them a message. If you've got questions, by all means ask them. So I'm available. So just yell out if you've got any questions, DM me or pop it on the Facebook group so everyone can see the response. But it's great to see everyone tonight. And luckily I didn't have any little people coming.
Children barge in, although we do like to see your children as well and the cat. And I sort of forget, we see you so often that Barbounis Nation and my nation probably don't get to see you that often.
Yeah, well.
So good for you to jump on, and we can see more of you, Jay Burke. I will just announce a very special thing in the pipeline. Jay Burke is my very first. I've created a new training series, and it's a bit tongue-in-cheek. It's called Road Tripping with Richo, and Jay Burke is my very first guest in the car with me, Road Tripping with Richo. And tonight was very serious compared to what we get up to in Road Tripping with Richo.
If anyone's
hey, JB.
If anyone's seen Jerry Seinfeld's Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee, it's a little bit like that. So, enjoy.
So you'll have to look out for that one.
Did you edit
All right, guys. Thank you so much for jumping on tonight. And one thing I will say before I leave, and I know I keep saying one more thing, but if those people if there are some of you who are sitting back going, I'm not going to GTC, oh my goodness, I won't build my business. Let me just tell you that the first time I went to GTC, I was actually a national vice president. You don't have to go to GTC to build your business. As a matter of fact, if you're not going to GTC, make sure that you are building your business so that when you do go to GTC, you are going at the level that you want to get there at. Okay, so don't feel, I've missed GTC, I'm not building my business. No, absolutely. Just get out there and do the work and think of one thing that you could do tomorrow, just little bite-sized pieces, bite this business apart with just these bite-sized pieces. One thing that you could do tomorrow that could really get the ball rolling for your business. Just one little thing, one phone call. Okay, it's not cleaning your desk. It's not filing in your filing cabinet. It could be a phone call. Get your, I've been doing this, get out your ultimate memory jogger, get your list happening and just call one person and do it. Do it. That's the theme, JB. We did talk about theme of tonight's training. It was going to be just do it. So just do it. All right, guys. JB, turn off the recording. See you guys. So good to see everyone.